And we're back. Welcome back, REBBECA is my name. I'm speaking to Rebbeca Chisache MAKYELI.
Yes.
Hey,
short form is Che. I've been called Che since I was 6 years old.
Oh, they call you Che, okay. Yeah. That's nice. Oh, so Che, karibu.
Thank you.
We're talking about her journey with addiction and how she overcame addiction, and we have reached a point where you're telling us you are now thrown out of the house.
Yes.
After going through the processes, you know, taking your father through all these doldrums, and now everyone reaches their breaking point, and
absolutely,
you know, he's like, "What? Get out!"
Absolutely. And in hindsight, I actually understand where he was coming from, because.
And now you do, but did you do so then?
At that point, no. All I was thinking, because you at that point you're selfish. All you think about is, why don't you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Everybody else is drinking. Why are you stressing me? Do you understand? And so at that point, I understood that this is somebody who had lost his wife to alcohol addiction, and now he's seeing it manifest in his youngest daughter. He didn't know what to do about it, you know. And in that moment, I didn't think about that. And all I said, I left home with a very bitter heart, because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. So I just packed a small bag. I got some family photos of my mom, photos of me when I was younger. I got my academic papers from my father's room. I got, and a few clothes.
Yeah.
And I packed up, and I was living in office for a month, the office where I worked. I tried to hide it as much as I could, but the steward picked up on it. And so eventually I managed to talk to her, and she gave me the key. So whenever she would leave in the evening, she would leave me with the key. I lock up. Then in the morning, I would freshen up in the bathroom and everything, and then she would find the place open. That's how I was living in office. Then eventually the HR came to me and said, "Rebbeca, are you living in office?" And I tried to deny it. And then she said, "Rebbeca, this is a high-rise building with CCTV cameras. Plus also the Askaris have also noticed," because I would sometimes go out to party and then come back at 3, 4 in the morning to office. And I tell the Askaris, "I'm here to work on some project early." And that's how I was living in office. But eventually she told me, "Find a place to stay. You can't, by the end of the month, you should not be here." A friend of mine happened to be house hunting, and he had found a house, but he needed.
In the office, where do you sleep?
What do you mean? Under the desk. See, I had the, yeah,
okay.
Under the,
you know,
you have to improvise.
You have to quickly.
You have to improvise. My handbag was my pillow. I laid down some clothes to make a mattress, and I folded under it. It was quite warm.
Is there a bathroom to take a shower?
There were very nice bathrooms. Yeah, there were very nice bathrooms, because it was in a very nice commercial building. That's where the office, the agency was. Very nice bathrooms. You could shower. You could, you know, freshen up properly. Yeah, so that's how I survived. And eventually, a friend of mine was looking for a house, and he said, "Hey, Che, I'm looking for some housemates. Do you know anyone looking for a house?" And I said, "I am looking for a house. How much do you need?" He said, "Yeah, we have to pay 3 months in advance." I said, "It's okay. By the end of this week, I'll give you the money," because it was now salary week. I sent the money to him, and I moved into the house with this person. Now, it was like frying pan into the fire, because this person now was also a person of the night. But now it was even worse, because he was a very, very popular DJ in Kampala. Yeah. And so, but he was a very good friend, a very popular DJ in Kampala.
So the two of you are quite the owls.
Imagine, yeah. But now for him, he was doing some other substances, which for me, earlier on in life, I said, let me choose my poison. You know, me, I was alcohol, cigarettes. For him, he had other things that he was dealing with. And being a DJ, basically, I was entitled to free drinks wherever he was playing. You understand? So after work every week, I was commanded to very good partnership. You understand? The partnership was very symbiotic. You understand? And so, of course, it took a toll on my work. I was starting to miss work some days. And one day I woke up and I had probably the worst mental breakdown I had ever had. Because I woke up one morning and it actually hit me that it had now been, I think, 3, 4 months, and my father had not even called or asked where I was. And now that was literally a slap to me. Like, wow, like, has he disowned me? Like, am I this useless in life? I know I've failed so much, but at least find out, does he even know if I'm alive? Does he even know if I'm eating? Does he know where I'm living? Does he know if I'm on the street or if I'm, you know? And I just broke down and I cried. And I remember I didn't go to work for a week. I wasn't even eating. I was just drinking. First of all, I didn't even have enough money. I was now no longer drinking these things from these high-end drinks. I was now drinking these sachets in my room. If you walked into my room, there was like a carpet of cigarette packs and sachets. I was just drinking and not eating. I wouldn't switch on the light. I would just be there wallowing in my sorrows and in my thoughts. And so eventually one of my workmates got in touch with the DJ and he came home and he said, yo, the CEO is looking for you. Like, what's happening? He wants to meet you tomorrow, because no one could reach me. I switched off my phone. No one could reach me. I had company property, I had a laptop, I had a camera, so I think people thought I had disappeared. And so eventually I met the CEO and we had a talk and he said, Rebecca, what's going on? You're one of my best employees at one point. What's happening? Do you need some time off? Do you need some intervention? You know, whatever you decide to do, we are here for you. Whatever you choose to do, go and, you know, do whatever you need. Your job is here when you need it. But just hand over company property and go take off the time you need. Handed over the company property and I left that job. I didn't even resign or whatever. I just went and never came back. So I'm wallowing in depression. I have no salary. So I'm unable to pay bills or to pay rent. And so it had become heavy on my housemate's part. 1 month went by, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. It was coming to the 5th month. He came and he told me, Che, we can't continue like this. He said, don't even worry about the 4 months that you haven't paid. Just get your things and go. And now,
so thrown out a second time.
A second time. And this time was worse because before I could go and hide in office. Now I have nowhere to hide. So from July 2016 to Feb 2020, I was homeless on the streets of Kampala for three years and about 9 months. Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, I can imagine all that goes with homelessness.
Yeah.
I'll just say we read it in your book.
Yes.
So what happened in 2020?
2020 was the turning point, my year of grace. The Uganda National Roads Authority had plans to construct a bypass where my mother is buried. And so what they did is they compensated the family and the children of the people who are buried there so that they could relocate the remains somewhere else. And so my brother set out to look for me because for over 3 years, nearly 4 years, nobody knew where I was. I was literally a vagabond on the streets of Kampala.
Your dad had never seen you?
He saw me once, I believe, when my mother passed, his mother. My brother had to come look for me. I looked so terrible. I had dreadlocks. I looked so unkempt. I had lost 40 kilograms in 3 months. I looked so terrible. My eyes were sunken. My skin was ashy. You couldn't recognize me. I looked so bad. My lips were dry and cracked. And so that was the time my father saw me, the one time when my grandmother passed. We went to Bari and then I came back to Kampala and went about my ways.
So now the roads
in 2020, yes. So the road, they send the money to my brother's account because he's the only one who, if he wanted to find me, he could find me. So they sent the money to his account and then he went on a search for me in Kampala. Eventually he found me. He found me in a bar somewhere. It was like 10 a.m. Found me in a bar. And he explained to me, he said, this and this is what's on ground. I have your money, but if you want the money, you have to come to my workplace. Then I hand it over to you, then you come and use it. Otherwise, I'm not giving you all the money at once. And that was a very wise thing to do. And so first order of business, he got me a broker who found me a house, a small house. It was like a bed-sitter, but even smaller. I got the basics. I got a mattress, pillow, an extension, and a blanket. That was it. That was what was in the house, plus a phone. Yeah, no bed sheets, no nothing. That was just what was in the house. And so even as much as I was still going out drinking, I had a place to come back and recuperate and rest, have a shower, things like that. And so I began to now apply for jobs because it had been 4 years since I had been in the advertising scene. So, the advertising scene is very dynamic. So people, portfolios change. And so I started applying for jobs. I got some callbacks. Now, a month in, when I had started, getting some callbacks, as a DJ, my DJ career was picking up. Now people were looking for female DJs and things like that. My career as a DJ was picking up. Now, March 2020 is when the COVID-19 pandemic hit Kampala and the lockdown was announced. So I had run out of money. I have no alcohol. I have no cigarettes because even the shops were not being stocked because vehicles were not being allowed to come stock them. So
and the Ugandans were serious. No alcohol is no alcohol.
Museveni said, if I find you. So that was the beginning of my rehabilitation process. And so it was now a very huge battle in my mind because now I had no access to the alcohol. And again, withdrawals started to hit. And this was the worst time because Now I had become so accustomed in those nearly 4 years on the street. All I could do was drink. I was drinking to survive. I was in bars during the day, I was in bars during the night. I was going 3 days without resting. We call them Jack Bowers. If you watch the series 24, there's a main character called Jack Bauer. We call them Jack Bowers, drinking 24 hours without resting. So I could go 3 Jack Bowers, then my body crashes. If my body crashed, I would be like in a bar, then the waitress or the bartender of the bar would put me like in the back. I crash for about 5 hours, then I wake up, I start again, like that. So all my body knew and my mind was alcohol. So this withdrawal was very acute for me. It was really bad. It manifested in the worst ways. I was sleepwalking. I was having lucid dreams. I was picking at my scars. There's a scar that I incurred in 2019. I lost my eldest brother to alcohol-related complications in 2019. And so I went on a drinking spree, literally to die. Yeah, I remember that time. I said, because my life flashed before me, I said, if this happened to Mom, this happened to Kenneth, this is going to happen to me. And so I started drinking to die, literally. That entire week, I remember I was drinking without sleeping. I ended up in an incident where I woke up and a man was trying to choke me. It's all in the book. I won't go into details. Then as soon as I left that scenario, as I survived that scenario, I walked out and I sliced my leg open, which is how I ended up with the leg. So I was a crippled,
so now you are picking at
a crippled homeless person. So I'm picking at the leg. And what happened in this point is I reached what they call rock bottom. And one thing about rock bottom I got to realize is that is where I actually encountered the only option that I had left. Because I was in a place where I couldn't go north, I couldn't go east, I couldn't go west, I couldn't go south. I couldn't do anything at all. And I knew that if I was spat back onto the streets, I was not coming back alive. And I remember that time is when I cried out to God. And I said, God, get whatever is happening in my mind, whatever is happening in my life, Lord, remove it from me, because I was ready to sign out. I had reached a point where I said, this life thing, I've tried. I said, God, I've tried this life thing. If I'm to die, let me just go. I was at a point where I couldn't afford food, I couldn't get alcohol, I couldn't get anything. And this is a time now where I was actually contemplating suicide. It was either suicide or I just give in to either starve to death or I just give in to my thoughts and take my life. And by God's grace, a friend of mine reached out to me on my phone, on WhatsApp. And it was very timely, you know. She asked me, how are you doing? You know, with the lockdown, I still drinking and this and this. And I told her I'm not drinking anymore, but I don't know what's happening to me. I'm suicidal and all this is happening. And she began to guide me. She started to pray with me. She started to let me know how to, you know, to share scriptures with me. But at that time, I didn't have a relationship with God. I said, now this one is telling me about the Bible. I haven't eaten, I haven't drunk. Like, I need alcohol. I need a fix. My life is in shambles. And it's at this point where she introduced me to a Christian radio station, which I started listening to. And later on, I began to work at. And this is where I cultivated a relationship with God.
This is where you found your way back.
That's where I found my way back. And that's something that I always implore people everywhere that I go. Because we live in a world that has sold us so many options. There's an option, there's a solution for everything. Oh, you're pregnant, it's okay, we can take care of that. Or you're addicted, no, we can drop you in a rehab and pop you out like a microwave, you understand? But I came to understand that as human beings operate in threefold: spirit, soul, and body. And so many times in the world, we want to find solutions from the outside in, and yet it begins inside, and then the rest can flow outwards. And a lot of times, and I always tell this to people who are struggling and people who are in recovery, you need to have a solid spiritual foundation, because the alcohol, you getting off alcohol, getting off drugs, that's not the problem, because drugs and alcohol are the symptom, they're not the problem. But even when you go into rehab and they dig into the psychological problem, they've helped you to get free. But what is it that's going to help you stay free? And for me, getting off the alcohol, because even when I stopped drinking, I wasn't drinking for all the time when I wasn't drinking. It's just there was a fight in my mind. But even without drinking, I noticed that yes, it is possible for me to survive without drinking. But now I had to deal with what was happening in my mind, because that is where the battle now really was.
That's where the inner person was.
And so it was cultivating a relationship with God that helped me stay free.
I hear you.
Because I was able to get free. But now the real fight comes in staying free.
In staying free.
Yeah.
So that's 2020.
This is 2020. Yeah.
So what's been happening since then in a nutshell?
Since then, I decided to take on the fight. I acknowledged that there was a need for a change, and I decided to be committed to that change. There were changes I needed to make in my life. I had to find new environments, I had to find new friends, I had to pick up new hobbies and new things to occupy my mind, because an idle mind is a devil's workshop. If you don't occupy your mind, the enemy is going to occupy it for you.
So you've worked in radio, you're in school now.
Absolutely. I wrote that book actually during the time. It's my healing project. I wrote it, and that was the beginning of me now understanding that, I have a purpose, that even as much as I started to go against all the condemnation, because now my life was before me. I've wasted 15 years of my life. I have no qualifications. Yeah. Family has abandoned me. Friends have abandoned me. But okay, all that has happened, but how do we move forward? That is now where I began to start intentionally working on myself. And so I started to pick up passions that I loved. I got into radio. I enrolled for a radio competition. I won. I was placed on the breakfast show, which I was a part of from May 2021 to August 2022. I started writing again. Because I used to work in social media management, I created my own communications consultancy called Nova Media. During lockdown, I went on YouTube. I taught myself graphic design. I started to sell graphic design services to businesses, and that's how I was able to fend for myself. And so over time, my mind lost the need for finding value in alcohol or cigarettes to function. Yeah. Yeah.
And you actually were able to reinvigorate yourself.
Absolutely.
So this book, Woman, Fire, Grace. Where do we find it?
You can find it at Nuria Bookstore and Raffle Books as well. Yeah. It's also available on Amazon.
Yeah, Nuria. I know the Nuria guys.
Yes.
Right here in Nairobi. Just get online at Nuria Bookstore. Yes. Find the Woman, Fire, Grace.
Yes.
By Rebecca Chisachi Macheli.
Yes. Che.
Or Che. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah. What would you tell someone who's undergoing what you're undergoing right now, going through the emotions, watching and is thinking, can I really get out?
Right.
Can I be her?
Speak to them. It's not the end. It's not the end. That in every battle there will be a winner, but you have to be committed in knowing that you are that winner. There is nothing that life can throw your way that you cannot overcome. Hope is your biggest weapon. That is something that I had to hold on to. It's something that I had to look for. Hope is the biggest weapon. You're not the only one going through what you're going through. People have gone through it. Some have not made it out. But some of us who have made it out are here to encourage you and let you know that you too can actually come out of it.
Wow. Wow, what a story. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
And, very proud that you have made it this far and you are still staying on top of things.
Amen.
Yeah? How are things with your dad now?
Oh, things are good. Oh, my dad and I are good.
Yeah?
Yeah. We had to have those hard conversations. Yeah, but that's really what it is. Yeah. We had to air out, I had his side, he had my side.
Yeah.
We're all good.
I'm sure he's very happy about the turnaround.
He's elated, he's excited.
And you have a very good brother. Some brothers here in Kenya will just disappear with your money.
Right. For him, he's the opposite. For him, he's never tasted
someone
alcohol.
like ati pesa ya nani? Hata hapatikani. Can't find that one.
He's the good kid. He never ever tasted alcohol or cigarettes or anything.
Oh, that's a really good boy.
He's my elder brother.
Yeah, yes. Came hunting for you.
Yeah.
With your money.
Yes.
Oh my. It's very touching.
Right.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Get
Rebecca's books on Nuria, Woman, Fire, Grace, Nuria Bookshop, by Rebecca Chisachi. Of course, it's. I think they can see the spelling there. Macheli is on the TV.
Yeah.
Or they can Google you now that you're a social media person.
Yes, I'm on social media. Yeah, you can get me on Twitter at Che Makyeli, KYEMAKYELI, or Instagram at Che, KYE, Makyeli. Yeah.
Oh, you're not those Facebookers.
I'm on Facebook, but
that's for old people. I hear you. Say no more.
I've said less.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And may God have his hand upon you all the days of your life.
Amen.
Yeah. That's 59 minutes for today. Stay tuned for Leah coming up with Ilosu. See you tomorrow, God willing.